From the headquarters of the Guild of Champions, this is the Becoming Thin podcast. And I am your host, Terrell. And welcome to another week of your weight loss quest. How did this last week go for you, champion? What new challenges did you encounter? But more importantly, what failure did you go through? And what lesson did you get from that failure? Come on now. Don't let a perfectly good failure go by without you getting a lesson. That's your reward for your troubles, after all. Now, if you're new here, I've lost 125 pounds myself after an entire adulthood of chronic yo-yo dieting. Up, down, up again. Before I finally got sick and tired of being sick and tired and fat, and I made some permanent, meaningful, and actual changes to my real-life lifestyle, habits, routines, environment, community, and to my systems of belief. Because it's all of those things that create the results in my life, and if you want to get new results in your life, you're going to have to go change those same very 6 things. Your lifestyle, your habits, your routines, your environment, your community, your belief systems. But there's one other thing you're going to need to change. If you haven't already started working on it, you're going to need to start. And that is your language. I touched on this in last week's episode of the podcast. We have to work on our speech. And I told you about how I started making changes, and I gave you some tangible and actual things you could do to start working on it in your own life. So if you've been wanting to work on your self-talk, you might go give the last episode a listen, but you don't need to go listen to that one first for this one. Each one of these will stand alone. But if you've liked this episode, definitely check out the last one. And if you like the last one, you'll like this one because it's a continuation. But before I do that, I want to invite you to come join my free Facebook group, which you can find by searching for Becoming Thin on Facebook. As well as I would like to invite you to follow me on YouTube, where you can subscribe to the Becoming Thin YouTube channel. And I go live there every Monday morning at 9 a.m., which is left available for replay whenever you would like. You can come watch that whenever you want. And there's lots of them there ready for you, as well as other videos to help you as well. If you enjoy the podcast, you will definitely enjoy the YouTube channel. The guild doors are not yet open. I don't know when they're going to open, but I'm here to let you know I'm getting ready to launch a workshop. So if you have been considering doing calorie tracking on your journey, or you want to start calorie tracking and you've never done it before, I am going to be, for the first time in a long time, doing my calorie tracking introduction program. This is my oldest program. I have been working on it for many, many years. I normally only do it in the guild. And I'm now going to be opening it up to the public. So that is coming. If you want to know more about it, be sure to just listen to the podcast or be in the Becoming Thin Facebook group or on the YouTube channel. You'll find about it on any of those. Now, your language is going to be a major impactor on you and your behavior. And many of us, we have allowed ourselves to become cavalier with our language, with the words that we use. I realized this at the beginning of my journey, that I was cavalier with my speech. I'm not going to get into that story. That was covered in the last episode. But as I got into it, I began to find specific phrases I just needed to discontinue using. I needed to stop using them. And these phrases were very prevalent in my language. Very, very prevalent. So if you are beginning to work on your self-talk as a conscious project for personal growth, I want to let you know you are normal if it is sometimes a struggle. If you constantly find yourself correcting yourself, if you're constantly getting frustrated because you're like, I have said I don't want to say this phrase anymore, and yet I keep saying it. It's going to be so tempting to just give up trying to change. You'd be like, yeah, none of this matters. It's not that big a deal. Oh, it's okay this time. It's going to be very tempting to do that, but just trust me. Those are the moments you got to correct yourself the most. This does get easier the more you do it. Let me give an example of this. It's completely different, about something that I went through where I have truly come to see you can train yourself to speak differently. I make a living with my voice. I figured out how to do that. Now, many people, when you hear them speak, you will hear them say, you know, kinda, sorta, maybe. And these are, I call them whisker words, throwaway phrases. It's verbal noise. Now, don't get me wrong. I have plenty of verbal noise in my speech. Now, I have an AI tool that you could load a podcast into it and click a single button. It'll find all the ums and uhs and just delete them and edit the audio for me. It's called Descript. It's a real cool thing. Uses AI to do it. I've had that for years. But you see, by the time that come around, I had been editing my own podcast for a while. And if I go back to my early podcast days, I might say and 200 times in an episode. So I would have to make 200 cuts to remove the ums and uhs. And I eventually just said, this is ridiculous. I'm just leaving them in. This is just how I talk. Like if I were having a real conversation with a person, it's not like I edit out my ums and uhs. But I got to thinking but when I'm in a conversation with a real person, I consciously try not to use and I was like, yeah, but this is a very different thing. I'm talking to a camera and a microphone in an empty room. It's weird. I then, as time went on, I was getting frustrated and I started thinking to myself, what if I just taught myself to stop saying and Like I'm just going to get myself to stop saying it while I'm in podcast mode, while I'm thinking. Come to find out that was hard. I actually needed to remove it from my speech everywhere. But it's interesting. It wasn't enough to say stop saying and because I needed to replace it with something. So I was moving away from and replacing it with and, other noises. And I was like, no, this isn't working. So what do I do instead? And this came in the pause. So kind of pull the curtain back on my podcast, just because some people might find this interesting. I almost never edit them. Every now and then I do, but usually I don't do any edits. I don't even trim off the beginning and end. The intro is recorded live every week. If I mess it up, I just redo the episode. I just record live because I don't want to spend the time on post-processing because it takes too long and it would reduce the number of episodes that I get out. I looked at the time, I was like, well, it'd be far easier to retrain myself to speak differently, to speak in a way that I don't have to edit. I did not always do this. I used to edit a lot. I used to dedicate half a day every week to editing. But I realized if I could just change my speech, I wouldn't have to do that. Now, the reason why I'm talking about all this is the exact same process you're going to do. I was changing my speech for a reason. I was doing it to make it easier to produce a podcast every week. I got the idea because of the first time I did it, which is what I'm going to invite you to do. The first time I did it was to lose weight and to change my behaviors and to work on my relationship with myself. I changed my speech so I would change my internal state. Well, when I'm talking about here at the podcast, I changed my speech to change my podcast production process, right? But it's the same thing. So I had to first identify the speech that I don't want. This is what I don't want to be saying. And I had to go, what do I do instead? And you know what I chose? Silence. The pause. The power of the pause. And this has been very helpful all over the place because when you're the one speaking, when you pause like this, that pause for me felt like an eternity. And I know for you, it was like nothing because I'm going to listen back to this later and I'm going to be like, oh, wow, that pause wasn't very long. But I assure you, to me, just a few moments ago, that pause felt very long. When you're talking to the microphone and the camera. And when you are correcting your speech, you're sometimes going to pause and go, what do I say instead? In your head. And you're going to feel like you've been silent forever. You've only been silent for a moment. See how like that little speech right there where I misspoke and then corrected it? A lot of people would edit that out. I don't edit that out. I just leave all that stuff in. I'm going to talk messy. Anyway. So with you must identify your junk words, your ums and uhs that don't need to be here, and we need to replace them with something else. So I came prepared to give you a handful. This is I'm reading from my own journal. Like if you're looking at this on video, this is the journal I wrote as I was transitioning from the weight loss journey. And I decided to write down what I did. So this is directly from my notes from what I did on my journey. Okay, this was for me, and hopefully it helps you. The first one is had to. HADTO. Had to. You see, the phrase had to can be a disempowering phrase. And so I discovered I should avoid it, especially when I'm talking about my weight loss. Like I had to go to McDonald's, which meant I had to get my double bacon, double quarter pounder with cheese, large fry, and a drink, and maybe a side of nuggies. Like I had to. But that's not true. I didn't had to. There's very little in life that I have to do. Usually there is another option. That doesn't mean it's the one I want. See, rather than saying I want to go to McDonald's and I want to get the double quarter pounder with cheese and a large fry, large Diet Coke, and a side of nuggies, like, instead of saying I want it, because then I'm like, well, no, I'm saying I want to do the thing that's sabotaging me. No, I had to. I have to give away my power. And this sends the message to myself that I'm not in control, that I'm not in power here. You know? You hear that? You know? That was verbal noise, by the way. I haven't quite got that one all the way out of my speech. You always have a choice. Well, maybe not always. Most of the time in life, you have a choice. When it comes to your weight loss, it's damn near always that you have a choice on what you can do. And I realized my life is better when I figured out how to stop saying had to. Am I perfect in this one? No. But if I'm working on an area of my life and I'm trying to experience growth, I'm going to work really hard to just eradicate that from my speech as much as I can. Let's talk about the next equivalent to eradicate from your speech. And that is the phrase, I can't. I can't. You see, if you say I can't do something, and therefore you don't try, but what if you're talking about the future you? Like yourself. Like I'm saying to you right now, like you could run 6 miles. That's a 10K. You could do that. And many of you are like, no, Chris, I can't do that. Well, no. You might not be able to do it today, but that doesn't mean you couldn't in the future. If you were just willing to pay the price, then you could do it. You're just not willing to pay the price. I discovered that when I say I can't, what I really mean is I'm not willing to pay the price to be able to do it. But I don't want to say that. Just like with the had to, I didn't want to say, I want to go to McDonald's. Well, I don't want to be like, I'm not willing to pay the price of losing weight and keeping it off. I'm not willing to pay the price of actually changing. No, I don't want to say that. Instead, I'm going to be like, no, I can't do it. I can't. I have to act all powerless and helpless. Like there's nothing I can do about it in the future. And the thing is, your brain's going to go to work to help you with this. There's even an old famous saying attributed to Confucius. I believe it's accurate, but it's he who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. You have the power of self-sabotage. So if you say you can't do it, you can, even if you could in the future, you can guarantee that you can't. You can make sure that you can't, but it's only because you won't let yourself pay the price. When I started wrapping my head around this is like, oh, this is so, yep, gotta stop saying I can't. Gotta stop saying I can't work out this week. That's not true. It just means I haven't figured it out yet. You know, gotta stop saying I can't lose weight. No, it just means I haven't figured it out yet. I gotta leave the future open. I mentioned it in the last week's episode, the concept of wiggle room. You have to have wiggle room in your speech. I can't, when you're referring to the future, doesn't leave any wiggle room. You got to have some wiggle room. You got to say something a bit more empowering than I can't. You can be like, well, I'm working on my weight loss. I haven't lost a lot yet, but I'm working on it. And I know I can in the future. I just got to keep chipping away at this solution. You hear how that's very different than I can't lose weight. I've failed so much in the past. I know I'm being a little over the top with the contrast here, the two ways of doing it. But try it with your own mouth. You just try these phrases. Just like stand in front of a mirror and just experiment with saying the same message. Once with using the phrase I can't, and another time saying, how do I say what I want to say, but I don't use the phrase I can't. Can I tell you where I learned this, by the way, this concept of just eradicating a thing? So I have something called dysgraphia. It's like reverse dyslexia. I can read fine. Getting it out of my head onto paper is a real chore. And I switch letters around all the time when I'm writing. I'll drop whole words and not even know. Like I will reread the sentence multiple times and insert the word every time, and then I'll read it a day later and the word's not there. And I'm like, no, the word was there. I saw it. Anyway, so the bum part of it is sometimes a word, I can't spell it. Like I cannot figure out how to spell it. And like, And sometimes it'll be so bad that even spell check's like, yeah, bro, you need to pick a different word. I don't even know what the hell you're trying to say. So I literally will have to rephrase entire sentences because I got to a word that I couldn't figure out how to spell. For a long time, guarantee, the word guarantee, that was my nemesis. Another time of life, warranty. That was another word. These two words were my nemesis. I would rephrase entire sentences to just get out of using those words. And what happens, though, is when you say, all right, I'm just not going to say I can't ever. I'm still going to say whatever I want to say. I'm just not going to use that phrase. You're going to have to get creative. You're going to have to come up with some other way to say it. But this is good because when you're not just automatically speaking and you're stopping and pausing and pondering and considering the words you're going to use, you'll be a little bit more intentional about it, which means you're being more intentional and thoughtful about your speech, which is going to help you in your life. I'm telling you, you got no downsides to working on this. There's no downside. Because if you mess it up, who cares? You were going to say it anyway. So at least the times you're improving, you're getting the benefit of that. But back to the list. The next one, I'm just. Oh, I'm just a big person. Oh, I'm just the sort of person who always. Oh, I'm just this. Oh, I'm just that. I'm just. That's a self-limiting statement. Don't go limiting yourself. Again, when you're referring to yourself in the present and future, you don't know who you're going to be in the future. I mean, consider yourself when you were 7. You didn't imagine you were going to be what you are. You didn't imagine this. I mean, even 10 years ago, you didn't imagine this is what you'd be. Probably. So, stop boxing in your future self. Stop, acting like you know who you're going to be in the future. Stop acting like you know what you're going to care or want about in the future. I mean, just consider yourself right now in this very moment. There are things that you used to want and really care about that you could not possibly care any less about now. Like something that was so big. It was so big, you would literally break down and cry if you didn't get it or if it was taken from you. And now you're like, whatever, I don't care. This seems even ridiculous that I'd get that worked up about it, that I'd cry. Think about that. That means there are things right now that you care about so much that if it was taken from you, or if you lost it, you would cry. That 10 years from now, you'd be like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm overreacting a little bit there. I'm getting a little bit too attached to that. Isn't that kind of crazy to think about? You have no clue who you're going to be in the future. And so don't be limiting your future potential. Oh, future me can't. Oh, future me has to do this stuff. Oh, I'm just the sort of person that always is, It's like the next phrase, I'm going to go and roll that one into it. I'll never. Well, I'll never like running. I used to say that. Now I've run multiple marathons and I've run 2 ultra marathons, which is longer than 27. I have run 37 miles. I am the same entity that once upon a time spent decades of my life just talking trash about running. Just regular saying how stupid it is. I don't know why anybody want to do it. And now I've taken a break from it for the last year to lift, and now I'm transitioning back into running and I'm loving it. It's like, I don't know. It's just, you don't know what you're going to do in the future, and your language is regularly boxing in your future self, making your future self feel like, oh, I'm somehow betraying past me. So here's the thing. Forget what you of 5 years ago committed to. You're always allowed to change your mind. I'm not saying change your mind on a whim. Maybe sleep on it for a little bit and really make sure you feel this way about it. But just because you said it before doesn't make it true. You're not a wizard. So it's not like you're over here like, I'm commanding my future self to not have the ability to do something. No, future you has all sorts of abilities. All sorts of abilities. It's just, are you going to get out of your way and let you actually do them or not? And one of the ways you get out of your way is by altering your speech, talking in a more empowering way. So instead of saying, well, I'll never get into running, be like, I don't really like running right now. I don't know, maybe I'll like it in the future, maybe I won't. I have no idea, but I don't really like it right now. Okay, see how that's acknowledging how you feel in the present, but not boxing your future self in. When you box your future self in, you reject something or accept something at an entirely deeper level. Now, the last one, we'll end with this one. This one's my favorite to change. Because you could feel it. I mean, you can just feel it when you say it. And I told it to you last week, so I'm going to say it to you again because it's my favorite and it's this good. I'm trying. Stop saying I'm trying when referring to the future tense. When you're referring to your future self or your present self, you're not trying to lose weight. You either are or you are not. It's that simple. You are either thinking about and focusing on and making decisions and working towards continuously towards the act of losing weight, in which case you are losing weight because you're not losing weight every second of every day. So you are either on the journey or you are not. You're not trying to be on the journey. You're either on it or you are not. So I am either on a weight loss journey or I am not. You've got to start talking in that terms with that. I am on it right now. I'm not trying. I'm either doing it or I'm not. Yeah, we go and channel some Yoda, which is more of like a Buddhist thing. But you're doing it or you're not doing it. So stop saying I'm trying to lose weight and instead say I am losing weight. I'm telling you, it makes a big difference. Try it right now. I am trying to lose weight. I am losing weight. Let's say I'm trying to lose weight confidently. You ready? Do it with me. I'm trying to lose weight. Now we're going to say I am losing weight, but we're going to say it super chill. I am losing weight. Notice how I'm trying to lose weight. I am losing weight. I am losing weight. I am losing. Wow, that is hard to say with a sad inflection. Hold on, let me see. I am losing weight. No, it doesn't feel right. That feels funny. Try it. Try it right now. Try to say I am losing weight in a sad, depressed voice. It feels goofy. All right. I am losing weight. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't feel right. Let me try trying. Hold on. Hold on. No, let me get in a sad headspace. Hold on. Let me act. I'm at the acting studio. Hold on. Sad. Let me think sad thoughts. Okay. I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to lose weight. I am losing weight. Nope, that second one felt funny. Nope, didn't like that one. Felt funny. Anyway, you got to work on your language. I am doing it. We tell ourselves stories all the time. When you say I can't, and you're talking about your future self, that's just some story that you're making up. Well, if you're going to make up stories, make up an empowering one. I mean, it'd be better to not make up stories at all. But if you're going to, make it a better one. Make it a helpful one. You know, this speech thing, I really, really didn't think it mattered for a lot of my life. I mean, I suspected it mattered, but I didn't believe it enough to actually go do it. Because if I really believed it, I'd have done it. And if you think to yourself, if you really believe something will work, you'll do it. And this self-talk thing, if you're anything like me, I was super skeptical about it. It just seemed like hippy-dippy woo-woo shit. What do you mean the way I talk to myself is going to alter the reality that I have in life? That's silliness. But it's not. It's like if I'm saying the code you put into a computer affects what the computer does. Well, our talking is our code. It's how we process commands and knowledge and information and execute on things. Talking is a part of it. Language is a part of how we communicate with ourselves. So take the week. Find the disempowering speech in your language and begin to eradicate it. Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast, by the way. As I said, I got that 6-week workshop coming up. I did that little experiment several weeks ago with the Emotional Eating series with a more produced podcast. I'm reflecting on that and deciding if I'm going to do that ongoing or if I'm going to keep it with this more relaxed format, which has been more the format for a while. As I said, this season has been a lot about me finding what the podcast is. I've been doing it for a number of years. So I thank you for listening and being a loyal listener of the podcast, and especially going through this phase with me as I'm rediscovering what the podcast is and what it's going to be moving forward. And to all of you that have been here with me since the very beginning, I just want to give you a big thank you. You've changed my life. I have the honor and privilege of working with people every day and spending all my days just thinking about how I can help people get the same result of losing weight and keeping it off, getting the dream. It's just my absolute honor to be able to do this. And I'm so grateful for all of you for giving me the opportunity. And I am just want you to know I take it seriously. I'm doing everything I can to be a true professional about this, to learn everything the best way, to show up every day for my clients and for the people that have entrusted me to step into the role of coach for them. Even with my social media content, I'm always thinking about you and how can I help you? What is the content I needed to hear when I was where you were at? and talking to you as, somebody that believes you can do it, because I know you can. And I know sometimes you feel like you can't. Sometimes some of you I know, you've been listening for a while and you haven't really lost a ton of weight, and that's okay. Some of you have been listening for a while and you've even gained weight, but I've had the struggle for a while and many times. And sometimes we're the change is lurking beneath the surface before it manifests into the world, and we start actually taking the changes that get us the new results in life. But so if you're coming back and listening and you're hanging on, just keep hanging on. But I do want to challenge you, if you are one of those, what's a small action you could do? Well, maybe the small action you could do is you could start working on your speech. You can start working on your language. You can start working on how you talk to yourself and really, truly seeking to eradicate the disempowering speech. And if you're interested in that workshop I got coming up, if you're wanting to add calorie tracking into your life and you've been curious about ramping it up and you want to learn how to calorie track in a way that sets you up for success long-term and doesn't take you into diet mentality while still allowing you to eat all the foods you love. Seriously, I mean it. You don't have to rule out any foods. And it helps you with learning how to intuitively eat down the road so you don't have to stay on calorie tracking. As I said, I've been working on this calorie tracking introduction for many years, and I want to take you through it. So just be sure to keep tuning into the podcast or come to the YouTube channel to be notified when that is going to be available. This is the first time it's been made available in I actually don't know how long, like 2 years maybe, I think, since I've done it. And I'm really, really excited to do it. All right. See you next week.